In the heart of Abuja, life moved at a fast pace, with cars honking and people rushing to their destinations. Yet amid the city's chaos, Annabelle found her escape in the quiet corners of her apartment, where books took her to far-off lands and lives she could only imagine. She had always been drawn to stories that let her wander through different worlds. Her bookshelf was filled with volumes from various genres, each with a story she had devoured, and yet she always craved more. Pascal, on the other hand, preferred the serene calm of his study. He cherished the moments when he could sink into his favorite armchair, the world fading away as he lost himself in the pages of a book. Though their love for reading was shared, neither Annabelle nor Pascal knew the other existed. They lived separate lives in the same city, unaware of how intertwined their paths would soon become. What made their passion even more profound was their mutual admiration for a particular author, a mysterious figure whose identity remained unknown to the public. This author's stories were rich with complex characters and plots that left readers thinking for days. Every book release became a global event, and readers, including Annabelle and Pascal, eagerly awaited each new novel. The excitement that accompanied these releases was almost like a ritual for them. Annabelle would rush to the bookstore as soon as she heard news of a new book, her heart racing with anticipation. Pascal did the same, his logical mind always craving the intricate puzzles the author wove into each story. Yet, despite their many visits to the same bookstore and their shared passion for this author's work, they had never met. The possibility of their paths crossing never crossed their minds, though it seemed fate had other plans. On a particular morning, the air buzzed with excitement across the city. Word had spread that the elusive author had just released a new masterpiece, a book that promised to be even more gripping than the last. Annabelle, who had been eagerly waiting for this day, hurried to the bookstore near her home, her mind focused solely on getting her hands on a copy. Unfortunately, a series of small delays had caused her to arrive later than planned. As she entered the store, her eyes immediately scanned the shelves for the new release. There it was, placed neatly in the spotlight with just one copy left. Her heart leaped with relief as she moved toward it. But just as her fingers were about to close around the spine of the book, another hand appeared out of nowhere. Startled, she looked up and locked eyes with the owner of the hand, Pascal. Pascal's gaze met Annabelle's, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. They both realized what was at stake. This was the last copy of the book they had both been waiting for. Without a word, Pascal made his move, his hand quickly securing the book as if it were a prized possession. Annabelle's heart sank. She had been so close, and now her chance seemed to slip away. She looked at Pascal, hoping her silent plea would sway him. "I'm sorry," Pascal said, though his tone wasn't exactly apologetic. His grip on the book tightened as he added, "I've been waiting for this one for months. I can't let it go." Annabelle's mind raced. She had been searching for this book for days. With a voice that carried both hope and desperation, she replied, "Please, I've been searching for this book everywhere." But Pascal's resolve seemed unshakable. For a brief moment, Pascal hesitated. He could see the genuine disappointment in Annabelle's eyes, a mirror of his own eagerness. Still, his own longing to dive into the pages of the new book overpowered any thought of giving it up. In a rare moment of compromise, he proposed a solution. "How about this?" he suggested, holding up the book as if presenting an offering. "I'll read it first, and then I'll pass it on to you. I promise I won't take too long." Annabelle sighed, realizing she had little choice in the matter. She watched helplessly as Pascal walked out of the store, the coveted book tucked securely under his arm. Her mind raced with frustration, and over the following weeks, her determination only grew. She visited the bookstore repeatedly, hoping for a restock, but every trip ended in disappointment. Annabelle felt the weight of every passing day without that book. One afternoon, as Annabelle was going about her daily errands, she spotted something that made her pause. There, driving into a grand mansion, was Pascal, the man who had taken the book she longed for. A mix of curiosity and determination sparked within her. She knew it was a bit out of the ordinary, but she felt compelled to follow him. After all, she hadn't been able to get that book off her mind since their encounter at the bookstore. Parking her car a distance away, she watched as Pascal stepped out of his vehicle and walked toward the entrance of the mansion. Gathering her courage, Annabelle approached him just as he was about to enter. Pascal turned, his expression surprised but composed. How did you find me?" he asked, puzzled. Annabelle offered a small, sheepish smile. "I saw you driving in," she admitted. "I couldn't help but follow, about that book." Pascal eyed her curiously but remained silent, clearly unsure of what to make of the situation. Annabelle, sensing his hesitation, quickly tried to explain herself. "I know this is a bit strange," she began, "but I've been looking everywhere for that book, and I just couldn't resist coming here when I saw you." Pascal raised an eyebrow, still unsure of where this conversation was headed. Annabelle decided to take a bold step forward. "I was wondering if, maybe I could come over occasionally to read the book with you," she suggested, her tone hopeful yet uncertain. Pascal looked at her for a moment, weighing his options. On the one hand, this was an unusual request from a stranger. On the other hand, he could see that she was sincere. After a moment of contemplation, he sighed. "All right," he said finally, "but just for the book." Annabelle nodded eagerly, relieved and excited. From that day onward, Annabelle began visiting Pascal's mansion a few times a week. Each visit was focused on the book, as Pascal had made clear that this was the only reason for her being there. They would sit in his grand living room, surrounded by shelves filled with countless other novels, their shared love for literature palpable in the air. At first, the atmosphere was a bit formal. They took turns reading chapters aloud, discussing the plot, and exchanging thoughts on the characters. But as time passed, the barriers between them began to soften. They started laughing at the clever dialogue in the book, teasing each other over their differing interpretations of the story, and slowly, their conversations expanded beyond the pages. Annabelle found herself opening up about her life, while Pascal shared stories about his. Gradually, their interactions became more comfortable, and what began as a simple arrangement evolved into something more. By the time they finished the book, both Annabelle and Pascal realized that their meetings had become about more than just reading. Their easy camaraderie had developed naturally, and they found themselves enjoying each other's company far more than they had anticipated. However, with the book completed, Annabelle stopped visiting Pascal's mansion. She returned to her daily routine, but something had shifted within her. She couldn't stop thinking about their time together, the way Pascal would get intensely focused on the plot or how he'd occasionally crack a rare smile. Pascal, too, found himself missing her presence. His home, once a haven of solitude, now felt strangely empty without the sound of their shared laughter echoing through the living room. He realized that he didn't just miss the discussions about the book, he missed Annabelle herself. But with time passing, neither of them was quite sure what to do next. Then, one sunny afternoon, Pascal made a decision. He needed to see Annabelle again, but this time, not just because of a book. He decided to return to the place where their story began, the bookstore. As he walked in, the familiar scent of books greeted him, bringing back memories of that fateful day when he had first met Annabelle. He scanned the aisles, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. Just when he thought she might not be there, he spotted her, quietly browsing through the shelves. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to fade away. They exchanged smiles, both knowing that this meeting was different from their first. Pascal approached her, his heart beating a little faster than usual. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice soft but certain. "We don't need another book to have a reason to spend time together." Annabelle's grin grew wider as she replied, "I was hoping you'd say that." From that day forward, Pascal and Annabelle began meeting regularly, no longer bound by the excuse of a shared book. Their time together grew more precious, filled with long conversations, shared meals, and laughter that seemed to come naturally between them. What had started as a simple connection over a particular author's work blossomed into something far deeper, a beautiful friendship that gradually evolved into a loving relationship. They discovered new things about each other with every passing day, realizing that their bond went far beyond their shared love for literature. In each other, they found a connection that neither had anticipated, something that couldn't be explained by words alone. Their story, which began with a book, turned into a narrative that no author could have written. Pascal and Annabelle found joy in the little moments, whether it was exploring new bookstores together, cooking meals side by side, or simply enjoying each other's company in silence. They shared their favorite novels, but also opened up about their dreams, fears, and the complexities of their lives. The mansion that had once felt like a lonely fortress to Pascal now echoed with warmth, filled with Annabelle's laughter and the life they were building together. As time passed, their relationship deepened. They no longer needed the pretense of a book to spend time together. Their connection was rooted in something much more profound, a mutual respect and admiration for each other. Annabelle loved Pascal's quiet intellect and his thoughtful nature, while Pascal cherished Annabelle's vibrant spirit and her ability to find joy in the simplest things. Together, they created a new story, one that was entirely their own.